Every journey begins with a choice, what to bring and what to leave behind. For years I packed too much, chasing every possible shot, missing the ones that mattered. But somewhere between the crowded streets of Europe and the foggy hills of San Francisco, I discovered something different, simpler, more honest. A single focal length, the 40mm. It didn't just frame my travels, it shaped how I see them. When I first got into photography, I wanted to take my camera everywhere, especially when traveling in new and exciting places. Like many beginners, I packed for every scenario. Out of excitement or lack of direction, I packed multiple cameras and a range of lenses, from wide angle to mid-range to long zooms, for landscapes, street and portraits. But over time, I learned a valuable lesson. More gear doesn't mean better photos. In fact, it often distracts from what really matters: being present in the moment. Growing as a photographer, my approach evolved. I developed a clearer vision, a better understanding of my gear, and the confidence to make the most out of whatever focal length I had. At one point, I shot only with primes, packing a 35, a 50 and an 85mm on every trip. Eventually, I pared it down to 2 and then just 1. Every choice had trade-offs. Sometimes the 35mm felt too wide, the 50mm lacked reach, and the 85mm demanded commitment to a certain type of shots. But I was chasing simplicity without compromise. And that's when I discovered the 40mm focal length, offering intimacy and context in one frame. Despite its versatility, the 40mm is often overlooked, caught between the familiar 35mm and the classic 50mm. But that's exactly what makes it compelling. It strikes a rare balance, close enough to connect with your subject, yet wide enough to capture the surrounding context that gives scene depth. The perspective feels natural, neither too tight nor too wide. It's fast and intuitive for street photography, and yet versatile enough to slow down for detailed, carefully composed shots. With 40mm, you think deliberately about the entire frame, and you make decisions on how close or far away you want to be from the scene. You move your feet, shift your angle to compose with intention, because there is no zoom to fall back on, just your vision. The first time I truly committed to the 40mm was on a trip to Greece back in 2023. I'd just picked up the Ricoh GRIIIx, but still brought other cameras and lenses with me, unsure if I could trust this focal length. But even before landing, I was seeing differently. From the train window to the airport terminal, I would shoot wide scenes effortlessly, almost like using a 35mm. But I also captured intimate close-ups, like a man in a hat under the soft lighting of the airplane cabin, with subtle compression and gentle bokeh reminiscent of a 50mm. Once in Greece, the 40mm continued to surprise me. I used it to photograph the quirky black rock beach I used to visit as a kid, and the weathered old wharf at the port. I composed with the shoreline as a leading line to guide the viewer's eye. I wandered through the sunlit alleyways of my hometown, capturing quiet moments and architectural details drenched into the unmistakable Greek golden sunlight. These scenes didn't demand drama, just presence. And 40mm allowed me to meet them exactly where they were, with honesty, simplicity, and just the right amount of storytelling in every frame. If you are enjoying this video so far, hit the like button and consider subscribing with a bell. After Greece, that 40mm focal length came with me to Italy, to a small town called Locri where I attended a close friend's wedding. Throughout the trip, I used it to capture quiet, understated moments. The soft morning light spilling over the furniture in my hotel. The night streets of the sleepy town where I used the subtle compression of the 40mm to isolate subjects, colors, and moods. Almost like I was shooting with a short telephoto lens. At the wedding, the 40mm proved to be the perfect companion. The atmosphere was vibrant, full of laughter, music, and delicate pockets of light. A mother holding a yellow umbrella over her daughter in a pink dress. My friends exchanging vows beneath the warm hues of the setting sky. Later that night, I captured an image that echoed the one that I took on the plane to Greece. A man in a hat illuminated by a string of lights that form a soft rim light around him, like a quiet punctuation to a perfect evening. This trip reminded me why minimalism matters, not just in gear, but in creative approach. The fewer distractions between you and your subject, the clearer your vision. Some of my most meaningful photos came not from having more options, but from using simple tools with clarity, intention, and heart. Since then, I've taken the 40mm focal length on countless trips around the UK and Europe, shooting in every imaginable condition. My trust in this focal length solidified recently when I traveled to San Francisco with only the Ricoh GRIIIx and its 40mm lens. I knew I had to pack light and I had very limited shooting time, and the 40mm didn't disappoint. I managed the photo walk to capture iconic landmarks, especially the Golden Gate Bridge. But thick fog rolled in, cloaking the bridge and hiding the symbol I had hoped to photograph. But rather than feeling frustrated, I found a new kind of opportunity. The fog transformed the scene into something mysterious and poetic. A soft veil that completely changed the mood. With a 40mm focal length, I was able to capture wider scenes of the fog engulfing the bridge, both on its own and behind features of the landscape like bushes, fences, and trees. I was also able to capture the wider landscapes around the bridge. When I was on the bridge, I used the 40mm focal length to capture leading lines, either the fences or the cables of the bridge, to frame passers-by as I would do with a 35mm lens. I was also able to focus on details and get some compression in backgrounds as I would do with longer focal lengths. This trip reinforced what I believe about traveling light and shooting intentionally. It's not about perfect conditions or longer zoom lenses, but about embracing what's in front of you, no matter how unexpected. The quiet versatility of the 40mm focal length lets you move freely and capture the unique atmosphere of every moment. Traveling light with a single focal length also changes your experience of photography. Without multiple lenses to second guess, you stop chasing the perfect shot and you start noticing the imperfect, fleeting moments filled with emotion. Photography becomes less about the gear and more about feeling, an extension of your mind and your eye. So whether you are chasing golden hour in Italy or fog in San Francisco, remember, the best travel lens is the one that lets you see clearly, react swiftly, and connect deeply with your surroundings. For me, that's the 40mm, a focal length that encourages seeing, feeling, and composing with purpose. What's your go-to focal length for travel photography? I would be very interested to know down in the comments. If you want to continue your journey and learn how I mastered the 35mm focal length, click and watch this video next. That was all for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I will see you on the streets. Bye bye.